is up and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your host, Keesha. We are in for a good ride. I was gonna say a whirlwind of an episode, but it's really like not that tumultuous. I think like the person in me that likes to be dramatic was trying to jump out, and you know, that's on me. That's my bad. But before we jump into the episode, I just want to do like two quick little shout outs. First off, shout out to Robin Thede. She's the creator of A Black Lady Sketch Show. I'm wearing one of the shirts from one of the episodes in their final season. It's the What Up I'm 3 shirt. I'm always gonna rep this. I even got a Black Lady Courtroom mug. Like, shout out to Black women creators who out here just trying to get a bag, ho. You know what I'm saying? That was the theme song of season 1. So if you have not seen it, go to HBO Max. I'm never gonna just call it Max. Home box office. Okay, I grew up with the static. Okay, so go ahead and head on over to HBO Max and you can catch that all 3 seasons. It's 3 or 4 seasons of A Black Lady Sketch Show. The second thing I want to point out, look at what my girlfriend gave me. It's a mug that looks like a really expensive Canon lens. It has like all of the font. It has like where the lens was made, the stabilizer, the autofocus, the millimeters. The only thing that's different is that it says Can I Am for it, and it comes with 2 caps. So the cap that I have on right now is normally what I use for like when I have like coffee and stuff in it. I'm not gonna say what's in it right now, but coffee and stuff is in it. But then there's another one that looks exactly like the lens itself, like the fisheye lens. So that's really exciting. Jumping right into season 3, episode 1 of Bel-Air. So first off, it's titled Baby I'm Back. And all I could think about was Scooter on Living Single. And when Maxine was like, oh, let me guess, baby, I'm back again. And I don't know, like just seeing the name of the episode, like it just made me think of Living Single. And I don't know, maybe they did like a little homage because of the title. I don't know, but it made me laugh. So I also upgraded to taking digital notes on my phone in a notes app. I've been using my notes app for everything except like taking notes. But well, taking notes on TV shows. But I was like, you know what? Let me just use my phone. Let me see how this works. So we'll see how the flow of today's episode go. But before we dive into the events of the episode, when I did season 1, episode 1 of Bel-Air, at that time, I wasn't giving like the creator information, director information, but y'all already know I stepped my game up. Okay, so we're doing better. Okay, we're being a little bit more journalistically responsible. Okay, so the show itself is based on a format by Medina and Jeff Pollack. Like I said, in 2020 they did like a reimagining what if video if the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was based in today's time. So I love that they continue to get their credit for the fact that they visualized and conceptualized this in the first place. The creators are Andy and Susan Borowitz. Season 3 episode 1 was directed by Keesha, and it was also written by Janeika and Jasheika James. I don't know if they twins or if the parents just wanted to like do rhyming names, but it's by them. And it was honestly like really well written. So really enjoyed the flow of this episode. So just wanted to throw that in there. And then your main cast, so we have Jabari Banks as Will Smith, Adrian Holmes as Uncle Phil, Cassandra Freeman as Aunt Viv, the Coco Jones as Hillary, Olly Sholotan as Carlton, Akira Akbar as Ashley, and Jimmy Akingbola as Jeffrey. So just to give y'all a quick recap of everything that happened between season 1 and season 2, okay? So this is where we left off. So Ashley caught Carlton using drugs, and when she caught him, she was just a little bit surprised, but you know, like addicts do, they get a little violent and a little bit of territorial over their secrets and their drugs. So he was like last seen threatening her about it and just making sure that she didn't tell anybody. But then fast forward, things were just getting really bad and his life was spiraling out of control, and so he ended up at like this senior event or like some type of banquet in front of everybody in the room. Is he a senior? No, I don't think he's a senior. I think it's like a junior year banquet. He ended up telling everybody that he is an addict and how he's been abusing like his pills and stuff like that to just cope with life, and the need to feel as if he needs to be perfect or put on an image to properly represent his family. And we already know the history of Carlton has always been like trying to fill his dad's shoes and stumbling along the way. Next, Jeffrey ended up finding his son. So Jeffrey ended up having to like leave his family because he was in a gang. I'm finding so much out about like London gangs. This is crazy. This is like the third show where this keeps popping up. So I feel like I need to do a nerd side quest to just be like, what are some prevalent gangs in London? I guess it's just not something you think about, and I would think that the average Londoner doesn't really think about gangs in the US either. But like, yeah, I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. So he ended up finding his son after so many years, and after he met up with him, he was getting like these strange phone calls, and then somebody had sent him some pictures of him and his son at a diner, basically like on some I see you and kind of like on some blackmail-y type stuff, you know what I'm saying? But we gonna get into it. Next, Lisa and Will, they had decided to be just friends in season 1 because Will just wanted to like get his life together. But by the end of season 2, baby, they was like, I'm feeling you, you feeling me, okay, what are we gonna do about it? So relationship is back on, and I think it's cute. I think Lisa is I think they're both like good influences on each other, and I think that they complement each other really well. Hillary broke up with Jazz, y'all, which I'm not gonna lie, even in like a scripted way, I really like Jazz as a character. Really, really love him. So does the family. Him and Hillary just seem not like they should be end game to me. The show, I think, wants to frame it as such, but I don't know, I just feel like there's gonna be more episodes where maybe in the end they realize they're just better off as friends, but that they're an itch that each other needs to scratch. I hate to reduce it to that, but I just, as a viewer, I don't feel that they're in game. And crazy enough, I think the reimagined Jazz is too good for Hillary. Anyways, Ashley also, we left off like in season 1, she was questioning like sexuality and what does that mean, and you know, I'm not attracted to guys, but there's this girl that I like, and you know, all these other things. So she ended up going up to the girl, I did not remember that girl name, I'm sorry y'all, and was just like, hey, you know, I kind of want to like spend the summer, you know, getting to know you, like would you like that? And the girl was all cheesy and everything, and she said yes. Now, my memory, I'm trying to think back to season 2. Because I think the girl that she has a crush on is the girl that keeps snitching on their English teacher. So their English teacher is played by Tatiana Ali, and I love that. I love that they're bringing back original characters from the show into new roles, because even the original Jeffrey is in this season. I love that so much. It's a genius idea. So even if people like me who saw it like in the 90s 2000s didn't really want to give the reimagined version a chance, bringing those characters back into it actually like reaches back and gets that audience while giving them something new and refreshing to watch. But yeah, I think the girl that she likes is the one that's been snitching. I gotta go back to season 2 episodes 1 and 2 because it was a real focal point where Ashley was kind of like bonding with this teacher and just really like trying to find a way to escape in literature, and this teacher was really challenging her. But I think this other girl was like ratting her out to the principal on some favoritism type stuff and saying that she was being biased to the students and straying away from the curriculum to teach certain things. I think that's this girl, y'all. I think that's this girl. I don't know. Y'all go back to season 2 and let me know. I'm gonna go back. But when the girl was like, oh yeah, I'll spend the summer with you, I just was like, is this like a genuine, like reciprocated feelings, like reciprocated crush, or do you just want to spend the summer with her to like continue to be the eye? Okay, so boom, recap is done. We open it up with Kiss It Better by Rihanna playing, but it is a remixed version with my second favorite song in the entire world, Luther Vandross's Never Too Much. And it is so perfect. The way that they mixed it actually gave it an island vibe, even though the original song on Auntie is not island, and obviously Luther Vandross's is not island, but it's very upbeat. So whatever they did, whoever did that, shout out to you. I literally just rewinded it just to listen to the song. And Luther Vandross has there's a documentary coming out soon called Never Too Much, I think. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. So I thought that was a really beautiful way to open it up with music. Hip-hop music is it's in the background, but it's a nice theme and a nice blanket for the show, especially since Will Smith himself was the first rapper to ever receive a Grammy, and I believe the first rapper to ever perform live on, was it Saturday Night Live? It was a show where, I should look this up. Honestly, sometimes I sit down and I don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth, so yeah, I'm gonna give myself some grace. But yeah, he was the first rapper to win a Grammy, and he was the first rapper to appear on some like stand-up comedy show. I don't know if it was like Mad TV or SNL, but he's the first rapper to perform on there. So I love how hip-hop music is threaded throughout, transitioning between the different scenes and stuff like that. And I hope that they bring more artists on the show, artists that people may not know. That'll be really nice. Bel-Air has an opportunity to do what Issa Rae did on Insecure, and it's really like highlight a lot of underground artists, and Will and Westbrook Inc. could really highlight like Philly artists as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to do that if they're not already thinking in that vein. So we get to Will and Lisa, and they're making out or whatever, and they take a break, and Will asks her if she's gonna come to Vegas with him for the basketball tournament. So he's actually playing with the team underneath Doc from season 2. And she was like, no, I'm not gonna be able to go because I need to prep for nationals, because she's on the swim team. So she's just trying to get herself together. Hello, Black Girl Magic, on the swim team. But it's just really cute to see them just like stress-free, like the truth about everything, about why he's in Bel-Air, and like the truth about like all their feelings and the things that was in between them in season 1 and season 2. It's really nice and refreshing to see like them in a really healthy spot. And it really reminded me of like that brightness from the original show with Nia Long and Will Smith. So throughout it, you get like notes and beats of specific episodes from the original, and I love that they're like keeping the tone of it all, if that makes sense. Next, we're moving on. So Carlton is packing up and he's at rehab. So he ended up going to rehab and he's packing up. He hit his 30-day mark, and he was celebrating and everything, and it looks like he was celebrating a little bit too much, because here comes this girl named Amira, like up in his room, like, oh, you know, you're getting ready to leave, you know, congratulations, blah blah blah. Then they start making out. Baby, you're not supposed to be in no relations or no relationships when you're an addict, because the addictive personality, it just kind of goes from like one substance to the next. So it can go from Molly to a person, right? It's just something in you that needs something to hold on to escape. And they, knowing the rules, still decided to like pursue some secret relationship. So then Will and the family comes and they're like, hey, you know, we're getting ready to like take you home, like, oh my god, we missed you so much. And Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil was like in the room helping him get everything situated, and Will was getting ready to go into the bathroom. I don't know why he was going to the bathroom, and Carlton was like, no, go in there. And Will opened it and he sees Amira through the mirror. So like she was like behind the door or whatever, maybe at like the shower area, but the mirror was right there. So Will didn't say nothing, he just like smiled and closed the door, and Carlton was sitting there looking down, and he was like, okay, I see we got a lot of stuff to catch up on. And then we do the opening, you know, everything like that. I love how in the opening it's still Jabari Banks as Will Smith, like on this ornate throne with this crown, and then still doing like the circular motion thing. So I don't know that I even cared to pay attention to that before, but I'm paying attention now and I like it. So we're back at home, and Will apparently put together like a welcome home like dinner situation, and he's like super excited. Everybody's appearing to be excited. Hillary's back home from jet setting off with some new man named LaMarcus. So she literally dumped Jazz and then like moved on to LaMarcus. And Carlton notices a lock pad on the wine cellar, so he was like, oh, y'all got a lock on the wine cellar. And he was like, and then Uncle Phil was like, you know, it's something that the therapist suggested. We want to make sure that we are promoting your rehabilitation as best as we can, but you know, we can talk about, you know, different things and rules and stuff like that later. Let's just enjoy this dinner. Will was really excited to throw this for you. We're all good to go. So they're at the table and they just kind of catching up on like how the whole family's just been really busy, and Aunt Viv just proposes like, okay, let's just have like family dinner twice a week. You know, I'm back working, your dad is working, Will with, you know, basketball, Carlton coming back, Hillary like getting like more presence and stuff on social media and stuff like that. So she just wants to find a way to bring everything back, and everybody's just kind of chiming in like whatever. And Ashley is just kind of like playing around with her food or whatever, and Bill was like, oh, Ashley, like you're being really quiet, like, you know, I hear that you're not chiming in on something. And she was like, well, because I don't want to talk about this. And she looked dead at Carlton. So tell us about rehab. The whole table kind of just shuts down, and they're kind of like, there's like some uncomfortable laughter, and Uncle Phil's like, you know, we can talk about this later. And Carlton's like, no, it's fine. Like, it was cool, you know, I'm just glad I was able to get some help. So Will jumps in and he's like, okay, enough of that. So da-da-da. And Ashley was like, be specific. What is it specifically that you were working on? Because remember, he threatened her. So she's young, so she has a right to be angry, like, obviously. But Ashley really feels a lot. Like when Will wasn't at home, she talked every day about bringing him back home. She's very close with Hillary. And so this is kind of the first time that you really see how much she loves and cares about Carlton. But obviously she's angry because him being an addict forced him to threaten her. And so it kind of challenges how she views her big brother. Like, she's the baby of the family. And so unfortunately Carlton kind of cracked that image to her, and he'll never be able to repair that, and he knows that. So he decides to answer, and he's just like, you know, I was using drugs as a way to cope with who I was pretending to be and who I thought I needed to be to fit in life and to fit in with family. And so then she just kind of shrugged and just went back to her food, honestly. So dinner is over and Carlton is upstairs in his room with Hillary, and they took the door off the hinges. And so Hillary's trying to lighten up. She was like, bro, don't you remember when they took my shit off? Sorry, I'm trying not to cuss these days. I'm trying not to cuss because, you know, we'll talk about that at the end. But she was like, don't you remember like when they took mine off in 7th grade? Like, you will be fine. It's not the end. It's not the worst thing that they can do. And they kind of share a moment, and Hillary's just like, you know, I feel like I was a really bad sister by not stepping in. I should have and could have done more. And Carlton's like, no, like, it's not on you. Like, that was something for me to bear. And she was like, okay, but I knew you were using, and I didn't really step in to even, she was like, everybody was doing it, and I just thought that because they seemed fine, that you were fine. And she was like, I should have checked in more to really investigate why you were doing it in the first place, instead of just being like, oh, we're in Bel-Air, everybody who's rich is doing drugs, so my brother, you know, he's using it recreationally. And so she's just like, you know, whatever you need, let me know. Like, I don't want to let you down like that anymore. And so he was like, actually, I do need something. I just need you to look out for Ash. So it's very clear at this point that he knows, like, he knows he messed up with his baby sister. And he, not outright, but he's making it known that while this dinner and while people missed him, there are consequences to the things that he did. And Ashley is the first person to kind of like, she's like the first person to manifest as a consequence. So while he's 30 days sober and everything is great, and that's great to celebrate, he left behind some broken things. Meanwhile, Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil is in the bedroom, and she's kind of like typing on something, looking at some stuff, and he comes in and he's just like, oh my god, like, I feel really weird, like, oh my, why do we have a lock on the wine cellar? Like, did you see the look on his face? And she was like, it seems like you're becoming soft. And he was like, well, what am I supposed to do? He was like, I'm always the bad guy and I don't like being seen as such. Like, am I the reason? And Aunt Viv was like, well, you know, I was always too soft on him, so maybe I'm the reason. And Uncle Phil was like, can we just agree that we don't know what we're doing? And I imagine that it's very uncomfortable to go from having life accessible for your children and then having to limit how they live within their own household, where they're supposed to be the most free, where they're supposed to feel the most safe. You now have to restrict them in this type of way. So Uncle Phil goes over, he's giving Aunt Viv a massage while he's just kind of talking about it or whatever. And then she's like, you know, everything's feeling good. I ain't gonna say too much. Just know that this is one of the sexiest couples ever. Ever. One of the sexiest couples. And so she leaning into it and he leaning into it. And then she was like, no, we gotta stop. Like, you know, I got all these things to do. And he was like, it's been a few weeks. Like, what's up? And she was like, no, it hasn't been that long. And he was like, literally, we've done nothing since Carlton went to rehab. And so she was like, look, I hear you. And I'm so sorry. Let's get through this Juneteenth banquet that they throw annually. and you know, I'm all yours. So he was like, okay, you get to work, boo. And then he goes and he lays down and he gets in the bed. So Will and Carlton, I guess just being teenage boys, they were still hungry. They were out and just chopping it up and catching up at, it was like I don't want to say like a food truck. Y'all know when y'all go to like those diners that you can like go inside, but they have like that like McDonald's or like drive-through window thing to order food to go. So it was like that, but you could still like go inside and have some seats. So they're there, and Will is telling Carlton about this young black and gifted thing that he's trying to do, because he wants to do more than just basketball. Like he realizes while being in Bel-Air that he can create a life for himself outside of just one career path, which is basketball. So he's really excited, and at this point he's really leaning into what Bel-Air could be for him. And then Carlton is sharing how he has this interview with Princeton coming up or whatever, and so they're just really just being really supportive and just complimenting each other and stuff like that, which is super refreshing to see, because season 1, episodes like 1 through 7, boy, it was really rough. They really leaned into why Carlton did not like Will at all. So it's just really nice to see them operating as brothers, so we can kind of just, we're past the pettiness and the stuff like that, and it's just really refreshing to see. So their order number gets called, and they go up there to get their food, and at the same time, Lou, Will's real dad, and Debbie walks out of the diner, and like they kind of like run right into each other. So Lou is like, Will, and Will just looks, and then he runs off back to the car. So Carlton just grabbed the food and runs after him. So we're back at home. Carlton is providing a urine sample, and Uncle Phil is just hanging out in the bathroom or whatever, and Carlton's, you know, just kind of being positive, but Uncle Phil is visibly uncomfortable. He actually brings it up, and he was like, I know this is weird, like I don't want to have to do this. I'm really struggling with like the right thing to do, but overall I just, your health and your safety is important, so I just really hope that you understand like why. And Carlton's just like, you know, I get it, like it is what it is. I got myself here, like it's all good. And I really like this moment, and Uncle Phil tells him he's proud of him. He's proud of admitting it, proud of taking the steps to go, and proud of how he's handling it while being back home. And this is really important because Carlton has always felt that he didn't measure up to his dad, and then when Will came, he felt like it was a competition, as if he had to compete with Will for his dad's approval. So it was just really nice that Uncle Phil, especially being like a black man, showing emotion and admitting that he does not have the answers to keep his family whole, and to admit that to your son in a position that's very vulnerable and could be seen as shameful or embarrassing to him. He took a step down from the arrogant know-it-all that we know Uncle Phil to sometimes be, to really just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I know that I don't want to do this, but we're in this together. Like, you're not alone anymore. So I really like that. So we're moving on, and Will, it's the next day, and Will told Uncle Phil, Aunt Viv, and Jeffrey about seeing Lou. And Aunt Viv is pissed, because she's like, you've literally been in LA this entire time. Like, who doesn't go and see their child? Like, why are you even here? You're literally setting up shop and you don't do nothing. And Will's like, you know what, it's cool. it ain't even do nothing to me. Like, it is what it is. You don't need to protect me from him. Like, I'm cool, I'm Gucci. And he leaves and he goes off to basketball practice. But Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv and Jeff share a look where they're just like, the last time this man was around, it really put like a setback on Will. And I've been there before. I've been there before where things are going good and then you have a situation with a parent and you just, it's like 2 steps forward and 20 steps back. But Will's like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna push through. So he goes to basketball practice and it is awful. He's missing shots. He getting the ball stolen from him. Head is not in the game whatsoever. And the director, Keesha Sharp, oh my God, I'm thirsty. Let me buy you a drink. Love this mug. The director did a great job. So Will is dribbling the ball. We're getting up close. We get the sweat. We get the heavy breathing. And this is where we get that Inside Out 2 moment where she's having an anxiety attack and you get everything is like focused inward on the character. So then we are like all in Will's face and we're going into like his eyes and then we pan back out and he's in a dark but beautifully lit gym and it's just him and all you can hear is the ball and his breathing. Then it's the voiceover of and flashback, mental flashbacks of when Lou first showed up at the house in season 1 and him and Will got into it and Lou choked him, to seeing him again at the diner. So all these things are happening and then boom, we kind of like hurry up and like zoom out and we're back on the court and his head is just not in the game. So Doc pulls him from the court and was like, yo, like, what is up? Like, you are not where you need to be and this ain't even you. So like, what's up? And honestly, like Doc kind of be operating like a little loan shark a little bit, but he takes his craft seriously and he's known for like getting people on and getting them into the NBA. So like, hello, like you came to me for a chance and an opportunity. So like, what's up? And Will like started to tell him, but then he was like, nah, it's cool, I'm gonna be good for the tournament in Vegas, like it's gonna be good. And he was like, all right, well, you better be, but in the meantime, go home. So Will goes to the country club and he's like rushing to get in there and this woman comes out and she was like, you can't go in there. He was like, what? I'm only 6 minutes late. And she was like, okay, well, the interviews were going like running ahead, so we're done, like I'm sorry. So the lead on Young Black and Gifted comes out, his name was Quentin, and Will was like I'm sorry, like, you know, basketball practice ran almost an hour over time, and Quentin, who also goes by Q, was just like, maybe this ain't for you and maybe your head not in the game. So while you're not gonna get a spot for this, for business, I will catch you on the court. At the same time, Carlton is in his room trying to find a tie to go with his suit for his interview with Princeton, and Aunt Viv walks into the room and he was like, Mom, like, you know, which tie should I do? And she was like, baby boy, there is no interview. They heard about you being in rehab and your addiction and things like that, and they want you to focus on you. And so he's upset, and just kind of like he's not lashing out, but he's just vocalizing how this is making him feel. And Aunt Viv was like, look, people don't give people like you the benefit of the doubt or a second chance, but also you have to understand that there were consequences to the things that you did. She was like, you should not be ashamed of admitting it and getting help, But you also need to understand that just because you admitted it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be any fallout or any consequence. So she walked out of the room and let him just kind of sit with that. And it's true, like, people think saying like, oh, I'm sorry, negates what's coming back to you. So while it's great that you're getting your life together, you still did something or moved in a way that negatively impacted other people. And so while you're in this positive space in your life and you want to move on, they didn't move on because you have not been confronted with how you made them feel just yet. And so Carlton, for the first time since being home, is really faced with so now you've had Ashley and now you have this interview, and it's like thing after thing, right? But this also, I don't think that Aunt Viv should have left in that moment. In that moment, I don't think she should have left, because something he looked forward to and something that was already in the works well before he even admitted that he had an addiction fell through. Everybody was at the dinner table where his sister was like, so what's up? And so he's an addict, and there's this moment of rejection and dejection, and then you walked away. This is where, and we see it in the next sequence, him walking around the house. He's standing in front of the wine cellar, just standing there and staring. He's going and he's looking in all the different places where people may potentially keep medicine, and he's finding that it's been replaced with other things. So emotionally and mentally, this was a big hit. So while it's an eye-opener for him to understand your actions have consequences, I just didn't think as a parent that leaving him alone in that moment was effective or appropriate, because in a high-end emotional state, he's going to resort to what makes him feel better. So that's my thoughts on that. So he goes around the house and he can't find nothing. So he finally goes into his room and he just sits on the floor and he texts Amira and he was like, this is basically harder than I thought it would be. And she was like, you just got to give it time. So Will ends up coming home and we find out that they were texting each other throughout the day and just kind of telling each other like the bad news and the stuff that they had. But Will just, being Will. And I just want to insert, hold on. Let me take another sip. Take a sip of it. Drink that. Hey. Okay. I read the real Will Smith's book. And one of the things in the first few chapters, if not the first few pages, was about how Willard used humor to bypass or completely ignore negative feelings. I say all that to say, Will has had a terrible day at camp, didn't get to do his interview, and was told to his face like, maybe this ain't you, but I'll see you on the court. And while Carlton also had like a bad day too, Will completely ignores his own feelings. Once again, mind you, Lou, basketball, interview, now we're here with Carlton, sitting in like a closet or something. And so Will's like, I'm sorry about your Princeton thing not going through, but it's cool. Let's look on the bright side, boy. Like, you Carlton Banks, like you could do whatever. Da, da, da. And Carlton was like, I'm so tired of your endless positivity as it comes to my recovery from drug addiction. You need to focus on your own problems. Like, boy, what is wrong with you? And then Will was like, whatever, I ain't got no problems. He was like, so we're just gonna act like you getting sent home from basketball and missing your interview don't have nothing to do with your dad. Like, You need to actually face that and stop running from it instead of trying to put helping me in front of your own situation. And while Carlton kind of said it a little bit, I didn't think it was harsh, but I think somebody who's not ready to hear the truth would think it was harsh. But he gave Will a lot to think about in that moment, and I think it was very appropriate. And one of the things that I keep seeing in real life and things that I talk about for real is that men aren't real friends with each other. They'll meet up, they play basketball together, they game together, they online together, or whatever. Oh, hey, you good? Hey, yeah, man, I'm good. You know what it is? It's Gucci. I'm up always 10 tones down. Get knocked down 9 times, get up 10. I don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know how to talk. But men be going through some real stuff. And they don't, in their friend groups, they don't ask each other the real questions. And then even when they do, when the homie be like, oh no, man, it's cool, man, like, get off that feeling stuff, stay there. No matter what they say, stay. It's not a woman thing, a girl thing to have feelings. It's not a woman thing to have something happen to you that impacts you mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And then for you to talk about how it makes you feel. And so with that, I will say, parents, stop. When your son cries, rightfully so, because they have feelings, stop being like, you better stop all that girl stuff. You ain't no girl. What is you? You a man. You a boy. Stop that. Because they grow into emotionally immature and emotionally stunted men. And because they still have feelings, they may not vocalize it, but then it comes out in violence. And that is what we really need to stop. So what I loved about this moment is Will and Carlton are in a family and they're in an environment that says that it's okay for you to feel. Every time Will is talking about something, it just because, like, Aunt Viv says it, but I love that it's written in the script that Uncle Phil also says, Will, it is okay. Carlton, it is okay. How do you feel? And they create a safe space for these young men to get their emotions out so that they can become emotionally capable and emotionally intelligent men as they date, as they have children, and as they navigate the world on their own. So I really love that. If there's nothing else that I like about this show, it's the men in the dialogue that's written for the men. So that's my soapbox. Okay, so Will took what Carlton said to heart, and I love when people apply feedback. So Will was like, you know what? I can't hide from the problem that is Lou. I'm gonna face it head on. So he goes to the barbershop where he found out that Lou worked. And so he goes in and Lou's not really looking, he's sweeping up, and he was like, oh, he closed, and he turned around and he sees Will. So now we have this moment. There's another confrontation, and this is on the heels of Lou putting his hands on him. Like, while it may not have been like sequentially done, mentally you're taken back to your last experience of this person. And his last experience of meeting his father was a violent experience, and yet he still decided to walk in here and face it head on. So Will is like, why you ain't come to see me? You talking all this crap about wanting to be in my life, this and the third, and you've been out here this entire time and you have not come to see me. And Lou says that he wanted to get his life together and he wanted to be the father that Will deserved to have. And oh my God, what show was I watching? unprisoned, unprisoned, where Edwin kept saying, I want to get my life together before I go back to Paige. I want to get my life together before I go back to Paige. And Nadine Hive over here, was like, why do you have to have your life together to have family? Why can't you be getting it together with them at the same time? So in this moment when Lou is like, you know, I wasn't in my right mind when I saw you, it's like an attempt at an apology, but it's like a toxic masculinity apology. Like, he's not gonna say, he never said, I'm sorry for choking you. I'm sorry for abandoning you. I'm sorry for hurting you. He never says that. He says, I'm sorry, you know, and then he excuses what he did by saying, I wasn't in the right mental space and this and the third, and I wanted to make sure that I was good to go. While that is good, it should have been after the things that I just mentioned. So now you're using your mental health and wanting to have a status as an excuse for assault. And one of the things with kids, being a child who is hurt by their parent, kids, no matter what, it's unfortunate, and I honestly think it's a cruelty, to be honest, is let me not get too deep. I don't want to get emotional. I think it's cruel because kids always want their parents. Always. You could be adopted. Somebody else could have stepped in. You always want your parents. Even when they hurt you, you still want them. But what you want more than wanting them is them to just say that they hurt you. To admit that they did not know what they were doing. To admit that the decisions that they made in life negatively impacted you and that they're sorry. But in a lot of households, especially black ones, parents want to apologize by offering you food, by giving you some new shoes, by giving you a gift. And I'm gonna just be real, parents, kids don't care nothing about that. They want to hear you sit with them, look them in their eyes and say, I'm sorry I hurt you. And in this moment, Lou had the perfect opportunity, because I don't believe that children should fix a broken relationship between a parent. That's not their job. I will stand behind that forever. If you have a broken relationship with your parent, it is not your job to fix it, because they are the ones who brought you into this world, and more than likely they're the ones who broke it. So the fact that Will even showed up was enough grace that Lou didn't deserve. And Will showed up in this space bringing some grace that absolutely would not come, not for me, not at this point in my life personally. And he didn't take the opportunity to apologize. Take away the fact that you were a deadbeat and you weren't in my life. Will is perfectly fine without you in that regard, because you probably would have made things worse for him. But let's just talk about the today of things and the few months ago of things. You didn't even apologize for that. You see your son for the first time in 16 years and you choke him. And you choke him because he called you out on your BS. And then you just say, I wasn't in my right mind. Okay. Now, I will take this moment to highlight that Marlon Wayans, I'm trying to think of like a serious role that I've ever seen him in. I've seen him be serious on the Wayans Brothers, but the whole show and the premise was a comedy. Marlon Wayans, he's liked some things that I've posted and commented on some things that I posted. He's very near and dear in my heart. Like, as an actor, as a person, the Wayans family in general, is somebody whose motivation was to strive and succeed so that my siblings could see that it was possible. The Wayans family was that for me. Keenen Ivory Wayans showed me that as the eldest, I could usher in a life for my siblings. So I really appreciate that, and there will always just be like a sensitive spot of the Wayans family, the entire family, with me. So seeing Marlon in this role, it's tough. It's tough, but he is amazing. He is an amazing Debbie dad, especially because he himself takes parenting seriously. He takes family seriously. So to know how he feels about family in real life and to see him in this role in the way that he's delivering in this role, people don't think, great actor Marlon Wayans, because people don't take comedic actors seriously. A side quest. But everything he's done has always been like next level and top notch. You have to be an amazing actor to do and have the catalog that he has. But to walk into this drama role, and especially for people who only know him for comedy, and to see him in this way, I love that. It's like when Jamie Foxx went from the Jamie Foxx show to Any Given Sunday. Lou is Marlon Wayans Any Given Sunday. And I hope to just see more of him. I want more. So anyway, they talking, and Lou gives him a news article that he keeps at his booth, like his little station or whatever, and it's when like news covers would cover him when he was younger, and he was like, you know, where do you think you get your basketball skills from, etc., etc. And Will was like, look, no. So Lou was like, you know, it was my way. I thought it would get me out the hood. And Will was like, I thought it was my only way to get out the hood too, but obviously there's more for me out there, and there's multiple ways to go. And instead of Lou encouraging it, he takes the opportunity to be a crab in a barrel by telling Will basically that he's a sellout. Like, you think staying with your Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, and you're in this big house and you're in Bel-Air now, like, that you better than basketball, that you better than us. You think you finna find another way out? Absolutely not. That you're living in a fantasy world. This is make-believe. And Will is listening, and he's emotional, but he's absorbing it, and he gives Lou the article back and was just like, I really didn't even want nothing from you, so I'm gonna leave. And he walks out, and Lou is fighting back his own tears because that toxic masculinity in you just couldn't help but try to tear your son down. You literally told him how you've been watching him, watching his game and watching his stats, but instead of supporting him, you decided to think of your own life and put him down. And it's like, I don't understand parents who be like, I want to do what I do because I want to make your life better. You need to have a better life than mine. But then when their child actually has a shot at having a better life than they did, the parents' jealousy comes out full force because you can't help it, because you're upset that your time has passed. But instead of putting that energy into something that you can do now in the today of things, while also supporting the fact that your kid potentially might have a better life than you, you want to make sure that you stay above your kid, that you want to sun your kid and keep them in second place to you. The entire scene in the barbershop, I want to pause here. So everybody knows the iconic scene where Will is in the living room with Uncle Phil in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he's just angry and he's just letting it out, and he's like, you know, why doesn't he love me? Why didn't he love me? Like, he's my father. Like, what the hell? And I felt like the barbershop scene between Will and Marlon, while there wasn't yelling or emotional outbursts, it felt like Bel-Air and the director and the writers took that big iconic moment from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and where Will was asking Uncle Phil those questions. It felt like they expanded on it and had Will have that conversation with his own father, to hurl those questions, to hurl those accusations to Lou. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if they're watching. If you're watching, Keesha Sharp, let me know. But it just felt like that moment from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was put into this moment, but instead of Will asking Uncle Phil and Uncle Phil not having the answers, Will posed it directly to his own father, and his own father couldn't justify abandoning his own child. So I really liked that Lou was not let off the hook with his responsibility and his obligation to his son. Okay, so we have the Juneteenth party. They have it annually, like I said earlier at the beginning of this. And Carlton catches Ashley, like she was on her way, like walking outside for something. And he is like, you know, I can't apologize enough. And I just want to thank you for saving my life. And she just really don't want to listen to him. So he was like, look, I know I hurt you and I threatened you, and I'm sorry, and I am here to listen to you. You can yell at me, you could scream, you could do whatever, but I am here on the receiving end for when you want to tell me how much I hurt you as your brother. But as your brother, I love you and I should not have done that, and I'm sorry. So instead of talking to him, she hugs him and then she leaves. And I just, like, again, the sibling thing, I just love it. For Carlton to just acknowledge that he is at fault, and him saying out loud, I hurt you, but when you are ready to tell me to my face how I hurt you, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna take it because I deserve it. And so I really like that, you know, big brother vibes. I love it so much. And I love that Ashley, the character, is allowed to have feelings. I hate when people be like, kids will like be upset or be angry or act out or this and the third, and adults will, you know, whoop them or put them on punishment or just for having feelings. And so I love that Ashley is having a normal reaction to a situation, and she's allowed the space to feel. She's allowed the space to be emotional. This is gonna be a really long episode, but shout out to the James sisters, because this was so well written to allow the viewer to just really sit in the events. And a lot of season 3 episode 1 is event based. You experience this event, and now you're left with the fallout of the feelings. Not only are you watching the fallout of the feelings of the actual characters, but you yourself get to reflect on similar situations in your own life and can relate to the same things. So I really love that so much. So Carlton walks off and he finds Will and Lisa, and Lisa's like, gotta go. Mainly because Carlton has always like had a crush on her, so she's just trying to, with his recovery, like not throw her relationship with Will in his face. But it's not a secret or anything. She's just doing what she thinks is best for her and Carlton. But Carlton's just like, okay, girl. And so he talks to Will. He was like, hey, Dad invited a bunch of people from the country club, including Quentin. Like, I can do my little Carlton charm, this, that, and the third. And Will was like, look, the ship done sailed. And Carlton was like, I wouldn't put that off. Like, you've been trying so hard to help me and to make me feel better and to get me through recovery. So let me do my thing. Like, I know these type of people. So let me just work my little magic, and I'm gonna come back with you. I'm gonna come back to you with results at the end. Carlton then leaves because he got a text from Amira and she was out front. So he goes up front to go get her, and then he comes back and he's like, hey, Dad, Mom, like, this is my friend Amira, you know, we met in rehab, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, you were in rehab too? Oh, okay. Doing the parental slash judgy thing. And Carlton just moves on because he wants to introduce Amira formally to his siblings and everything like that. So we move into the house, and Will, Hillary, and Ashley are sitting on the couch. So Will brought her some of the Juneteenth cupcakes, which was literally just red velvet cupcakes with the icing, the colors of the Juneteenth flag. And Hillary made them. So they all up in there. And so Hillary was like, I can't believe my parents actually pulled this off without me. Like, that's crazy, because normally they don't have no style. And she was like, and where did they even get this DJ? Like, they're so good. And Will was like, well, Jazz was the connect for the DJ. And Ashley was like, I love you, sister, but the way you broke up with him was like kind of tacky. It wasn't demure. It wasn't demure, okay? It wasn't classy. And I like Jazz, and like, why aren't you with him? But speaking of Jazz, Will sees him walking into the party. Now, Jazz, I get it, because you're Will's friend. This is just messy all around. Hillary should have never messed with Jazz, because what is he supposed to do? It's like y'all are exes, and so it's like you don't want to be around your ex, but you also dated your cousin's best friend. So what do you expect? Then he works at the vinyl store that your baby sister frequents all the time. It was really messy on Hillary's end, and everybody is basically on Jazz's side. Anybody who knows like what really happened and what really went down is on Jazz's side. So she's just kind of like stuck. So she walks up to Jazz and she was like, hey, Jazz, do you have a moment? I'm really sorry for the way things ended. Again, amendment. I'm sorry I hurt you. I really wish people would just own what they did instead of trying to act like what they did was an event that they couldn't prevent. It's like it's a lack of acknowledgement of their part in the pain. I'm sorry for the way things went down versus I'm sorry I hurt you. Those are two different things. So I really wish people would learn how to apologize, because you might actually be forgiven a lot faster if you just acknowledged your part. Anyways, that's the theme of this episode apparently. So she goes up to him and she's like, I am so sorry, like I didn't want things to go down this way. You're still gonna be around, you're around my family, and so I hope that, you know, we can move forward and things aren't gonna be awkward, and I'm sorry if I caused you any pain or if there was any hurt. And Jazz was like, hurt, please, you did me a favor. He was like, you know what? He was like, all you do is run. You ran from college, you ran from your family, you ran from your job. He was like, you're a runner, you're a track star. And literally that was written into the script. I said, and he was like, and this new man that you're with, you're gonna run away from him too, because that's what you do. things start going well and you can't take it in forever, for whatever reason, you self-sabotage. So her face is on the floor, okay? That baby is cracked and she don't know what to do. But the whole time you could tell, like, Jazz obviously was affected by the breakup and it was just trying to hurt her. So put a pin in that moment. We go into the kitchen and Aunt Viv is in the kitchen and she's there with the mirror, and the mirror was like, Carlton is just doing so great. Like, oh my God, you should be proud. And Aunt Viv does the Aunt Viv thing and she was just like, aren't you in rehab too? Shouldn't you be focusing on that? So you need to be focusing on yourself and not try to be in a relationship or try to form a connection with my son. Okay? I don't know why you're here, but you are not welcome, basically. And so Amira just kind of like, okay. And then she leaves. And I get it. But time and a place, Aunt Viv. Time and a place. So back to Hillary's face being left on the floor. She goes out and she finds LaMarcus talking to her dad. And she was like, Dad, gotta interrupt. And they get up and she grabs the microphone from the DJ. She was like, hey y'all, like, I got an announcement to make. Something super amazing happened to me while I was gone and I want to share that news right now. And she was like, babe. And so LaMarcus get the mic and he was like, I had the pleasure of asking her to be my wife. And Hillary was like, and I said yes. So it's this huge thing and we pan right on back to Jazz and now his face is on the floor next to Hillary's. I love a petty beef. I love it so much. Ashley don't make it no better because she rolled up behind Jazz and was like, if it makes you feel any better, I was rooting for you. Girl, it don't. But I get it. You're like 13. But still, like, mind your business. Like, this ain't the time, little girl. This ain't the time. So the party, everybody's getting ready to leave. And Will and Carlton are coming up just like seeing the rest of the guests out. And Q is in the foyer waiting on them. And so Will was like, oh, Quentin, like, I thought you would have left already. And he was like, well, I would have, but your cousin found me earlier and really like pitched for you, told me not only his story and your story. And it's been a long time since I've seen anybody be this passionate and genuine about advocating for somebody else and for somebody else's dreams and for somebody else's passion. So if you guys work together, the final spot in Young, Black, and Gifted is yours. At God, not like a burp coming in the middle of this. If you work together and submit under like one name, then the final spot is yours. So it ended up working out in the end, not only for Will but for Carlton too. They both were dejected, they both were rejected, and Carlton did what he's best at. And while he was out there advocating for Will, he ended up getting something for himself. So they now are able to go into something together and work together. And it just kind of like solidifies their bond and solidifies their friendship beyond being related. And one thing I really like about their relationship is Will is not really seen as a cousin. Like, he's really like a brother. And I love that Carlton needs a brother. And more importantly, he needs a brother like Will. Somebody who is selfless. And Will gets that from his mom. Like, yeah, he could be cocky. Yeah, he could be arrogant and stuff like that. But he never forgets others along the way. Which makes him popular. Which makes him charming. And which ultimately wins Carlton's heart over in the friendship that they end up forging and the brotherhood that they forge together. So Carlton is walking around. He goes into the kitchen. He finds his mom and he was like, hey mom, something you want to say? Like, what's up? And she was like, no. He was like, well, you haven't really talked to me since I've been back. And she was like, oh, I've just been so busy. He was like, well, Amira texted me after she left without telling me. So what's up? Like, you talking to her, but you're not talking to me. Like, what's up? And she just, you know, put all the cards on the table and was just like, I can't wrap my brain around the fact that you have just been lying to me. Even when I knew you were lying, I told myself that my son will come back to me. I told myself to give you the benefit of the doubt, but everything out of your mouth is a lie. And so anything going forward, I'm having trouble reconciling what's true and what's untrue, to include that you did not disclose the real relationship between yourself and this girl. So you need to focus on you, she needs to focus on her. And I'm not sorry for what I said, because at the end of the day, this trust is broken. And more importantly than the trust that is broken, I don't trust myself anymore with my kids. Because while I thought I was making the right decisions, it turns out that every decision that I made about you was incorrect. And she walked out. And Carlton, again, is hit with a roaring realization of the true damage. It's one thing to like hurt your little sister's feelings, right? It's another thing that the person, the alumni who was backing you for Princeton, backed out and now your interview is over. But it's really something when your mom tells you that she don't even recognize you. And that because she can't recognize you, she don't recognize herself. And so now your actions have made her question her. And Carlton is really confronted with a big thing, and he really has to face that while trying to put his life together, he has to go back to the people that he hurt. And the people in the direct line of fire is everybody that lives in the house. He can't just move on and think that his recovery is going to pacify the feelings that they actually felt. And you can see it in his face, him like really processing like, okay, there's more work to do outside of no longer doing drugs. So Will is in the room, and G walks in and he has his box, and he was like, I went to go see Lou right after you and he wanted me to give you this. And so Will is just like, bruh, I don't want this. And Uncle Phil walks in and G walks out. G is Jeffrey, if y'all don't know. And so Uncle Phil was like, you know, do you want to talk about it? And Will was just like, look, I didn't tell you because with everything going on with Carlton, I just didn't want you to worry. And Uncle Phil, again, we are a family. What you are going through and what you are dealing with is not just your problem. It's all of ours. I just want you to know that and to trust that as parents, we can handle these things. Again, you are not nephew. You are child. And I think that's really important, because anytime a kid is under the care of somebody else as their guardian, regardless of what the bloodline DNA says, you should treat them like your own. Because feeling othered, I promise you, will backfire on you. So here we finally get Will expressing anger, and more importantly, expressing that he doesn't want to be like his father. He doesn't like that they both love basketball, that they both got the same accolades. He tells Uncle Phil how Lou laughed in his face that having other dreams and wanting success outside of basketball is a possibility. And in this moment, Uncle Phil extends a grace to Lou that up until this point, I don't think it's deserved, but as a viewer, I don't have any knowledge. And so Uncle Phil was just like, you know, the way that the life and the way that we grew up, me and your dad, it was really all about finding that thing that could get us out. And so of course he finds pride in the fact that a son that he hasn't had any direct involvement or influence in is actually following in his path as far as talent goes. And so then, you know, they sit down and Will was just like, I'm here and I feel that there's just other possibilities. I don't need just basketball. I don't need hustle culture. I feel that my whole entire world has opened up now. And why would he talk to me or try to make me feel bad about even wanting that? And Uncle Phil reassures him. He's like, you're right. There are multiple ways to achieve in life. And Will was like, I want to reach. And Uncle Phil was like, so reach. So the Juneteenth party just kind of ended on a lot of emotional notes. We see Carlton in his room really emotionally digesting the events of the day, the ups and downs, especially with his sister and with his mom. Then we see Uncle Phil coming out in his robe, his chesticles all out, looking like a zaddy. Because Viv was like, baby, when Juneteenth party is over, I am all yours and you are all mine. But he comes out and she's asleep. So he just like pulls the covers up a little bit over her. And then he goes and gets on the side of the bed and he lays down. But the gag is, she was faking the whole time. I'm like, Aunt Viv, Vivian, Vivi, ma'am, what? So we have the next day and Jeffrey is like doing his little Mission Impossible stuff before going into his house, and his son is there. He brings him food and they just sit in there chilling, chopping it up. And Jeff finally tells him, like, you know, I was a part of this gang, this, that, and the third. It forced me to have to like flee and stuff like that, but I just want to make sure that you're safe. And so the son is just kind of like acknowledging it, and they go back to the game, but you can see that Jeffrey is still very worried and very concerned. Then we move to Will. He is pulling up to like this basketball park or whatever, and then we go into a wide shot where he's walking up to Doc, and all the people on the basketball team is getting on the bus because they got that Vegas tournament. And Will is telling Doc like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to go because he got accepted into the Young Gifted and Black program, and he really wants to pursue other avenues. Like, I'm good at basketball. Like, being good at basketball is not gonna go away, but I want to figure out what else I'm good at. And so the bus pulls off and you see that Will is not on it. Immediately Carlton pulls up, and Carlton's like, you know, how do you feel? And Will was like, I'm feeling really good. Like, bro, we finna be business partners. Like, can you believe that? And they both are like super excited, and some music starts to play, and then we cut to black and the episode is over. So there's that. Bel-Air season 3 episode 1. What do you guys think? Oh my god, I did not do this at the beginning. I suck. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I do it at the end. I'm gonna make a mental note. Okay, so there was so much in episode 1. A lot of jump cuts into like different things, but I think the episode was framed around a post Carlton coming back from rehab situation. So while the episode wasn't like centered directly on Carlton, it really focused on the impact of what addiction can have on a family. So we were still moving, we were still going through things, but in the back of everybody's mind was Carlton and his health. It was done beautifully. I don't know, Keesha Sharp, like, I don't even know, like, how do you have a show to have an episode about a character while including that character, but not necessarily focusing visually on that character, but keeping that character's plot as the theme of the entire episode? It was done really well. Shout out to the writers, shout out to the director. Shout out to the actor Olly that plays Carlton. I think we give a lot more like brevity. We give a lot more substance to who Carlton actually is. I think in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, we didn't really see a lot of substance with Carlton until, what was it, the episodes? There was a couple of episodes that really stand out to me when Carlton thought he got that girl pregnant, when Carlton and Will got racially profiled and got arrested, and when Uncle Phil got shot. That's really when you saw Alfonso Ribeiro really like deliver as a character in a dramatic way for Carlton. So the writers in the reimagined version keeping that same energy every time you see Carlton, whether it's a funny moment or not, is really good, because you get to connect and you get to relate to Carlton more than in the original show, where it was a disconnect. If you didn't really connect with preppy kids, then like you didn't understand him. But I think in the Bel-Air version, you may not like him, but you understand him quicker and you understand him better. Really love that. As far as predictions go, oh my god, so my girlfriend got a new bed for the dogs, and Demi, the Shih Tzu, is like laid out, paws crossed. You know when people sleep and then but their eyes be open but they be asleep? That's what he looking like right now. So I just looked down and I'm just like, oh my god, why is he looking at me? Because I thought something was wrong, but like no, he's asleep. They love this brand of bed. It's their second one because they chewed through the other one and somebody had a poop accident on it. But they are knocked out. It just creeped me out. But okay, what do I think will happen in season 2? Okay, let's talk about some things. I think that Ashley will forgive Carlton. As far as Hillary goes, I think to go out of her way to make Jazz jealous and do the announcement of her engagement at a party, and I guess the party wasn't for anybody, it was just an annual party. It gives residual feelings. So I see her being in a relationship with LaMarcus being a little messy, and because I think she still has feelings for Jazz, and it's obvious he still has feelings for her. As far as Will goes, I honestly, it's really like the world is his oyster. His relationship is doing well, but I think there might be an identity crisis and a little bit of a struggle with basketball being your life, and for so long you relying on it to get you out of the hood, to now seeing other possibilities. I think while there's an optimism there, there's going to be a struggle there, because now you have to take like new steps and you're not familiar with those steps. So he's really going to need Carlton a lot, which is cool. I see Carlton just on a roller coaster, a yo-yo of things. He's gonna have highs, he's gonna have lows, but I think that he will be okay because he recognizes that he fractured things, and so I think that he's gonna take a more proactive approach to healing the relationships in his family. I'm gonna put a little faith in him. I don't see him slipping back into drugs. I hope I'm wrong. I'm team Carlton. I want Carlton to win. I want Carlton to win because he has points. He has points. Okay, I'm team Carlton. Ashley, again, like I said, I think that girl is using her. I think she's using her. But I see Ashley finding her voice in the next episode. I see her being empowered, and I see her talking to Carlton face to face about her feelings. I don't see her going too deep into this relationship yet. She's very cautious. She's a very cautious child. But I definitely see her, because she feels so much for her siblings, I see her wanting to mend this this rift a lot sooner. Jeffrey, I just I don't think it's over. It's not over. It's not over. I do wonder if this boy, because Jeffrey's like this undercover person, but like, are you so eager to find your son that you're just believing this is your son? Like, something is telling me that this may not be his biological son. One of the biggest flags is in the casting department. I think everybody did a really good job. Him casted don't even look like he could be related to Jeffrey. So it's giving imposter, and it's giving Jeffrey so desperate to reconnect with his own son that he's failing to do his due diligence on this person. Just my thoughts. Aunt Viv, whoo, baby, I am unfortunately thinking, I just am thinking that there is someone else. It just don't make no sense for your man to be that fine and you pretend to be asleep. So it's either someone else, or you blame him for the Carlton situation, you resent him for the Carlton situation, and you're just not telling him. There's something in the way and she's not saying it. So I think it's going to come out in the next episode. Uncle Phil, I think, just really enjoys that his family is back and everybody's together. Honestly, I think Uncle Phil is just like in like this naive bubble, while he recognizes that as parents they don't know everything. I think he's just so hopeful and just so excited about what could be that he's missing some signs with his wife, with Carlton, with Ashley specifically, especially as it involves bringing back a child who's a recovering addict in the household. So that's gonna wrap up season 3, episode 1. As always, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave some comments, okay? Let me know what you think about the episode. You can also follow me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, and then you can also follow me on Twitter at Kivonchi, where, Jesus Christ, why am I burping? You can follow me on Twitter at Kivonchi. Again, like I said in the previous episode, just because I only recap like this episode or that episode or whatever, you can probably see the rest of my thoughts on Twitter, because I'm constantly on there talking about film and TV shows. Jesus Christ, what is happening? The universe is conspiring against me and I don't know what to do. I just can't. I don't know what to say. It's just really bothering me. How did I do? Yeah, at this point the thing that's in the cup is taking over. So I am gonna end this episode and I will catch y'all in the next one. Again, don't forget to stream Bel-Air seasons 1, 2, and 3 on Peacock. The first 3 episodes are available on Peacock, and then it's gonna go through episodically every single week. Catch it. You don't want to miss it. I promise you. You do not want to be the person at the water cooler who does not know what they're talking about. See y'all in the next one.
Phase it.